Prepare yourself for an exhilarating adventure that blends science fiction with breathtaking action. Let's go. In the future, Earth is on the brink of destruction due to pollution, and humanity must migrate to the planet Alpha Prime. Scientist John and his family embark on a critical mission, but are sabotaged by a traitor on board. The plot unfolds in 2068, a critical period where Earth's excessive pollution has severely compromised the ozone layer, rendering the planet soon uninhabitable. Faced with this impending calamity, humanity is forced to seek refuge on Alpha Prime, a remote planet. To enable this migration, the United Global Space Agency has developed a revolutionary technology, a hybrid hyperportal. While the counterpart of this portal on Earth is ready, the corresponding portal on Alpha Prime is still under construction, with preparations in full swing. Meanwhile, a terrorist faction plots to thwart this plan by attempting to disable the United Global Space Agency and prevent humans from transitioning to the new planet. The narrative then transports us to a futuristic metropolis where aerial vehicles zigzag through the sky. Here, we find scientist John announcing to the press that the completion of the hyperportal on Alpha Prime is near, and that he, along with his family, will soon depart to oversee the final details of its construction. The journey to Alpha Prime will take a decade. During this time, John and his family will be in cryosleep, a technology that keeps them young while time continues to march on inexorably. In a more intimate moment at home, John's daughter expresses her reluctance to embark on this long journey due to the extended period of cryosleep. Meanwhile, John contemplates the responsibilities that lie ahead, questioning his role and the challenges he will face. The scene shifts to the moment when he is formally designated as the pilot of the mission. The next day, the plot takes a darker turn. John's family receives a visit from Dr. Smith, a man secretly allied with the terrorists. In a clandestine meeting, the terrorist leader promises Dr. Smith a hefty reward if he can sabotage John's ship. Despite initial hesitation, Dr. Smith eventually agrees to the proposal. When John returns home, he is surprised by an invention from his son Will. A small time machine earned the boy a prize at school. Maureen, John's wife, takes the moment to reprimand him for his absence in the small family victories, highlighting the need to recognize these moments. John, thoughtful, justifies that his actions are an investment in the future of all of them. Meanwhile, Dr. Smith executes his evil plan, manipulating the settings of a robot aboard the ship, aiming to destroy both John's family and the ship itself. At the plot's climax, a hologram of the terrorist leader emerges, praising Smith for his nefarious actions. But in a dramatic twist, the transmission is interrupted by an electrical surge, leaving Dr. Smith unconscious. In the near future, John and his family, including his wife and 3 children, Judy, Penny, and Will, position themselves in their cryogenic capsules. With everyone properly settled, the spaceship, already in flight, hums with the surrounding technology. John checks every detail before retreating to his own capsule, plunging into cryogenic sleep. As time passes and the spaceship travels a significant stretch of the cosmos, Dr. Smith, against all odds, awakens. His heart races as he realizes that the spaceship continues its course with him aboard, a situation that should never have happened. Terror sets in when he notices that the robot, previously sabotaged by him, begins to malfunction, triggering unprecedented chaos. Activated autonomously, the robot starts to devastate the ship's corridors and compartments, with clearly lethal intentions. Dr. Smith, consumed by fear, initially tries to disable the robot, but his human strength is no match for the enraged machine. In a desperate act, he resorts to his cunning to wake the crew from their cryogenic beds. While everyone fights to contain the robot's destructive advance, which seems unstoppable, Will skillfully intervenes with a remote control he had, managing to temporarily restore order. John quickly deduces that there has been a sabotage. The tension escalates when they realize that Judy is still trapped in her capsule. With his voice trembling with fear, Dr. Smith pleads for his life, claiming to be the only one who can save Judy. However, a new danger arises. The spaceship, out of control, begins to be drawn towards the sun. At the height of chaos, Dr. Smith manages to extract Judy from her icy prison, making a frantic attempt at cardiopulmonary resuscitation. The atmosphere is one of extreme urgency, with all eyes fixed on her life-saving actions, while the already severely damaged spaceship continues its fatal course. In this critical moment, Don suggests to John the activation of the hyperdrive. Despite the unpredictable risks, with no other alternatives, the decision is made, and in the blink of an eye, the ship distances itself from the sun, emerging in an unknown quadrant of space. With Judy finally regaining consciousness and the atmosphere somewhat relieved, John decides to isolate Dr. Smith in a secure room. The crew then focuses on scanning the cosmic region where they find themselves, discovering to their surprise that no available data can indicate their exact location, a clear sign that they are hopelessly lost in space. After a brief exploration, they spot a gigantic ship, clearly not of earthly origin. Driven by the hope of finding a route to Alpha Prime, they decide to board it, given the failure of their own ship systems caused by the hyperdrive jolt. Don, John, Judy, and the robot, which is under Will's command, enter the alien spacecraft. Inside, the group finds no one, but they do observe curious bloodstains scattered throughout various locations. Suddenly, Maureen contacts them from their own ship, warning them of suspicious movement in the surroundings. Guided by this information, they explore further until they stumble upon an area filled with dense vegetation, very similar to a jungle. It is there that Don notices a strange creature, resembling a monkey, which can change its color at will. They capture the creature. Meanwhile, John stumbles upon a crucial clue pointing to the location of Alpha Prime. They finally uncover the path to Alpha Prime, but are interrupted by bizarre entities resembling spiders, which emerge and advance menacingly toward them. In response, everyone rushes into a compartment and locks the door behind them, but the spiders begin forcing their way in. A frenzy of gunfire against the spiders ensues. Simultaneously, Maureen, operating from the mothership, manages to open the hatch of the alien spacecraft, allowing everyone to return to their ship. However, one of the spiders manages to infiltrate part of its body inside. The spiders then launch their internal attack. Maureen examines the severed limb of one of the spiders and deduces that they are attracted to light. With this in mind, Don activates the ship's external lights, drawing all the spiders outside. As they approach the light, the spiders are unaware that Don is setting a trap, and in a decisive act, he detonates the alien ship, eliminating the spiders in the resulting explosion. However, the detonation severely damages their own ship, forcing it to make an emergency landing on the nearest planet. Despite the setback, everyone survives the crash. Secretly, Smith takes the opportunity to confiscate a circuit from one of the robots in the alien ship, altering its settings. He also deals with a bizarre skin rash, the result of a spider bite. Meanwhile, Maureen suggests they explore the planet, which appears to be suitable for human life. At dawn the next day, they find a massive blue orb. Upon inspection, they discover that it has the ability to facilitate time travel. John and Don enter the orb and find an ancient inscription inside. Upon removing the dust, they recognize a map of Earth, identical to one they had seen before, but now showing a future in which the planet is devastated. The revelation leaves them stunned as they realize the orb has transported them 20 years into the future. Meanwhile, back on the ship, Will is busy repairing his robot, damaged in the fight with the spiders. At that very moment, another robot appears and attacks Don and John, rendering them unconscious. Meanwhile, Smith, with cunning and ulterior motives, convinces Will to follow him to the orb without informing Maureen. As they enter the mysterious place, they come across gravestones bearing the names of Maureen, Penny, and Judy, a revelation that goes unnoticed by them, unaware that it foreshadows the deaths of John's female family members in 20 years. Elsewhere, when John regains consciousness, he finds a young man standing before him. This young man shows him a medallion, the same one John had given to Will during his childhood, revealing the truth. The young man is Will, 20 years older. Will then reveals to John his invention, a time machine. Meanwhile, Don also wakes up and upon seeing the time device, suggests using components from the machine to repair the ship and thus facilitate a possible escape. However, future Will explains that the time machine has its limitations. It can only be used once by a single person to travel through time, and after that, it will never work again. Will reveals his audacious plan. He intends to use the machine to go back to the day his family departed for Alpha Prime, to prevent the mission from starting, as it resulted in the death of everyone. Will, trapped in this future for 2 decades, declares that he cannot miss this chance. John, concerned, argues about the dangers of altering time, but Will, determined, refuses to take any advice. He reminds John of the promise to return after using the time machine, a promise that was never fulfilled. At this critical moment, Smith appears with the younger Will, pointing a gun at him. He connects a modified circuit to Will's robot, making a demand: the delivery of the time machine in exchange for everyone's survival. Smith plans to use the machine to escape alone to Earth. Suddenly, a bizarre figure emerges. It's future Smith, transformed by spider bites. He grabs Smith and throws him to the ground, seriously injuring him. John and the others are captured by the robot, while the younger Will tries to awaken in the robot the memory of their previous friendship. Will reveals that he himself altered the robot, implanting his programming. He orders the robot to remove the circuit installed by Smith. Regaining its memory, the robot obeys, returning control to Will. He then instructs John to take possession of the time machine and protect his family. Will assures John that he will retrieve the core material, and if he doesn't return, John should escape with his family. Meanwhile, Don and the younger Will head towards the heart of the friendship ship, hopeful about their next actions. As they make their way, they encounter the injured Smith and decide to take him with them. In the meantime, an older Will, who regains control of the situation, questions John about the tragic fate of his family. Smith reveals that they were attacked and bitten by poisonous spiders. Intrigued, the older Will questions how it would be possible for them to have died if they had turned into the same horrific creatures as him. Smith clarifies that he was the one who exterminated them, justifying that this action was necessary for John to develop the time machine for his own benefit. Upon comprehending the full magnitude of the betrayal, Smith, consumed by overwhelming fury, tears his garments, revealing his deformed spider-like form. He declares his intention to go to Earth to release the spider eggs he carries, vowing to unleash unprecedented devastation. Meanwhile, John employs small weaponry artifacts to attack Smith. Smith, however, dismisses the attacks, claiming they are harmless. John then warns Smith that he may be unaware that these spiders are capable of devouring even the wounded flesh of their own bodies. Consequently, spiders begin to emerge from Smith's wounds, voraciously devouring him. With no other option, John hurls a now subdued Smith, overrun by the creatures, into the time portal, where destructive forces annihilate him. Afterward, John finds Will unconscious, suspended by electrical cables, and quickly rescues him. While this unfolds, Maureen and the rest of the group prepare for evacuation as the orb is about to detonate, threatening the stability of the entire planet. Unfortunately, as they take off, the ship collides with space debris, causing Don's immediate death. John feels devastated by the situation. Determined to correct the mistakes of the past, he carefully adjusts the controls of the time machine to the exact moment and meticulously prepares for departure. He explains to Will the importance of seizing the window of opportunity they have to make the necessary corrections. John, for his part, expresses his joy at reuniting with the group, but Will quickly brings him back to reality, reminding him that the time machine can only be used by one person at a time. With a mix of resignation and courage, Will decides to make the ultimate sacrifice, using the machine to close the portal through which threats are emerging. Meanwhile, Don tries to keep everyone focused on the mission, reminding them that there is still a chance to escape the planet's intense gravitational forces. John then proposes a bold solution, executing an orbital slingshot maneuver, using the planet's gravity to propel their ship out of danger. They execute the plan by placing Smith in the planet's core, triggering a massive explosion. By a hair's breadth, the team manages to pull away just in time, watching in astonishment at the destruction that ensues. The resulting explosion is so powerful that it forms a black hole, which begins to pull their ship in. Judy, observing the control panel and the ship's trajectory, warns that they still have a viable route to Alpha Prime. "Time to jump to hyperspace," Don declares with firm determination. With a quick command, they activate hyperspace, and the ship dissolves into the void of space, disappearing into infinity. The movie ends, leaving a trail of mystery and adventure in the cosmos.